Welcome to my rapidly growing YouTube channel. I will be talking to you today about economic recession. So, sit tight and listen till the end of the video. For a chance to win a $50 gift card, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and leave a comment below. Many financial analysts and economists believe that recessions are an unavoidable result of the business cycle in a capitalist economy. On the surface, the empirical evidence appears to strongly support this theory. Recessions appear to occur every decade or so in modern economies, and they appear to follow periods of strong growth on a regular basis. This pattern recurs with startling regularity, but is it unavoidable? In other words, do recessions always follow periods of rapid economic growth? Is it possible to avoid recessions, or are they an unavoidable feature of a modern capitalist economy? The term recession refers to an economic period characterized by negative real growth, declining output, depressed prices, and rising unemployment that frequently follows a period of notably strong economic growth as measured by these same variables. Recessions are distinguished by an unusually large, simultaneous, and widespread collection of business errors, which some economists refer to as malinvestments. Recessions are periods of poor economic performance that typically follow periods of above-average growth. In the face of financial loss and declining margins, businesses reduce production or fail entirely, and business managers, or new owners, reallocate resources tied up in failed projects to different uses. Some of these resources will need to be repriced, in terms of goods prices, asset values, or, in the case of labor, wages, during the transition period, while others will be idle for some time until a new use is found. As this process continues, the economy will recover. What causes the cluster of business errors to occur is the key issue in determining whether this process of growth recession recovery is unavoidable. Why can't businesses keep expanding and asset prices keep rising indefinitely? Over the years, economists have proposed a variety of explanations for these clusters of business failures. Some make use of psychological factors. These explanations emphasize that people can be prone to excessive optimism and confidence, as well as pessimism and fear, resulting in the propagation and collapse of market bubbles and persistent aggregate demand deficiencies. Some of this can even be replicated experimentally in the classroom through simulations or small-scale experiments. Such theories are widely held, but they generally fail to explain how a large-scale cluster of business errors can occur across markets and asset classes in an entire economy, as occurs during a recession. Others point to economic shocks, which are random events such as wars or epidemics that can have a negative impact on an economy's production, consumer demand, or the prices of key goods and commodities. These kinds of things can certainly harm businesses throughout the economy at the same time. They do not, however, explain why recessions seem to occur with such regularity or why they always seem to follow periods of unusually strong growth. After all, economic shocks are by definition unpredictable. There is no reason for random shocks to follow patterns like these that are so obvious. Random negative shocks are unavoidable, but that doesn't explain why the observed patterns of boom and bust in the economy are. Others explain the economy's recurring cycle of growth and recession in purely financial terms. These are frequently caused by errors made by the central bank or monetary authority that supplies money to the economy. Too much new money may lead to excessive inflation, but too little may lead to tightening credit conditions and defaults, resulting in debt deflation, which is why recessions occur. These theories, however, fail to explain why monetary authorities should err so dramatically and with such apparent regularity as to cause an obvious cycle of boom and bust in the economy. Essentially, these theories reduce the question of why do clusters of severe business errors occur? To why should severe clusters of central bank errors occur with such frequency? Each of these explanations for the decades-long cycle of growth and recession appears to have some power and possibly some truth to it. However, none of them demonstrate that recessions are unavoidable, or that an economic cycle of expansion and contraction should exist at all. Austrian business cycle theory provides another explanation for recessions. This theory delves deeper into many of the factors mentioned above. It focuses on how central banking and monetary policy interact with real-world economic events, as well as the psychology and incentives confronting investors, producers, and consumers. By examining how all of these factors interact, we can gain a more complete understanding of how business cycles operate and whether or not they are unavoidable. According to Austrian business cycle theory, the primary cause of recessions is the banking system's creation of new money in the form of loans and corresponding deposits, known as fiduciary media of exchange. Banks, particularly central banks, do this not as an error in calculating the correct monetary policy, but because it is essential to their business model. This sets in motion a series of economic investments by distorting the incentives of investors, consumers, and savers in favor of debt-financed investment and consumption, while simultaneously decreasing savings. This creates a temporary illusion of a strong economy as prices and spending rise across the board, but because investors, consumers, and savers' plans are fundamentally at odds, this illusion cannot last. Under the guise of distorted incentives and the optimistic exuberance of the boom, previously expected to be profitable business investment projects are eventually revealed to be a slew of errors. This revelation of the cluster of errors is frequently, but not always, triggered by some random economic shock. Conflicts that arise as investors, consumers, and savers attempt to increase both present and future consumption while decreasing savings frequently take the form of real constraints and bottlenecks in supply chains that may resemble random economic shocks, despite being systematically caused by the initial overissuance of new money and credit. This results in business failures, rising unemployment, debt deflation, and all of the economic pain associated with a recession. Once the process of creating an artificial economic boom through the issuance of fiduciary media is initiated, the ensuing bust and recession are unavoidable. However, this does not imply that recessions are always and in general unavoidable, except during periods of excessive money and credit creation. Recessions are not logically unavoidable in any economy. Rather, they are determined by the monetary practices and institutions that a society adopts. Recessions are unavoidable for the time being, given existing monetary institutions. To be sure, all modern capitalist economies, for better or worse, include banking systems based on fractional reserve lending coordinated by central banks that routinely and continuously issue new fiduciary media into the economy. As long as this is the case, the boom and bust cycles that we regularly experience, as described by Austrian business cycle theory, will be unavoidable. Given the pervasiveness and entrenchment of the current monetary arrangements, recessions are simply part of the way our economy operates for the time being. I hope you find this information helpful. I would need you to click on the next video on your screen. You can also look through my playlist for more content that may interest you. For a chance to win a $50 gift card, subscribe to my channel, like the video, comment, and share. See you in the next video.